Hello, this is going to be a quick video about a simple little snake game that was made using the olcPixelGameEngine. The point of the code in the video is just to show off the game and demonstrate how to use some of the features of the olcPixelGameEngine. I did not create the library or the engine, I'm just using it. It's a C++ library that uses OpenGL. And it essentially has a bunch of wrappers and pre-built classes and functions that make things easier. In this demo, it is going to be Snake. It's a typical Snake game where you have different types of fruit that spawn, and you're trying to get those fruit. And as you acquire fruit, you get points or whatever you want to design, and the game progresses to different levels. If you want to pause it, you can pause it. If you want to die, you can die. The game will reset. And that's basically it. So you can see that there are two files in this project. One of them is a header file. This is the code that was written by OneLoneCoder, JavidX9. He has his own YouTube channel. I highly recommend you go check that out. He has wonderful explainer videos about math, programming, music, and all sorts of other concepts, and he uses C++ to do that. However, I'm going to be just going over a quick version of using that to do a very simple snake clone. So we've got a structure that's used for the location of each one of the snake's points. We're going to have the fruit instances, so each fruit on the screen, the red dots, is going to be a structure of one point and one color. We've got some variables here defined for the snake variable, some variables defined for the level, some variables defined for the fruit. We've got essentially what's going to become an array of fruits, a bunch of methods to control starting the level, resetting the game, initializing the snake. So this will go through and actually draw the snake before the game starts on the screen. This method will check for all of the fruit collisions. So it's going to loop over all the fruit, check to see if the snake's head, which is at position 0 in the array, collides with the fruit. And then over here, we're going to check to see if we had a collision, we need to make sure we eat the fruit and then remove the fruit. And by eating the fruit, we need to gain points and increase the points as level, things like that. And then we also need to remove the item from the array and move all the elements down from whichever fruit, so we can keep our fruit array clean. This method, I haven't put any code in it, but if you wanted to loop over the fruit and maybe animate the fruit, or you wanted to do something different, maybe the fruit will decay over time, you could put that code here. Here's where the fruit spawns. So it just does some quick checking to make sure that we haven't reached the maximum number of fruit, checking to make sure we're only spawning fruit every so often. We don't want to spawn too fast. And then it just spawns a fruit at a random position pretty much. Getting some user input, so left, right, up and down arrow keys, but we don't want the user to be able to kind of turn back on top of itself. They have to go, if they're going left, they have to go up or down. They can't go right at that point. If the spacebar is pressed, pause the game, and if the game is over, then go ahead and unpause the game when they press space and reset the game back to 0 for level and points and things like that. Change the level if we've reached the point threshold. There's some values that were added to make it so that each level becomes a little bit harder. We have shorter time between spawns. more fruit that spawn, and then the animation rate also is faster. So the snake starts moving faster and faster. Here's all the draw methods. So we've got some simple drawing of the fruit, which are just pixels. You could change this to circles or squares, or you could actually make this into sprites or decals instead. Drawing the snake body, it's just looping over each element, grabbing out the pixel position, and drawing that at that spot. It's doing a gradient or a grayscale, or however you want to call it, based off of the position. So if there was 3 colors, the first would be the maximum brightness, the middle would be halfway, and then the bottom would be darkest. Draws the border, drawing the level stats, which is basically just printing out the strings for the points in the level. Draw the game over screen, update the worm's position, check if it's out of bounds, if it hits the border. And here's the initial creation. Here's the main game loop. So every Pixel game engine has an onUser update method that gets called. And in here, you would clear the screen back to black, do any of your user input, draw anything on the screen you want to draw, do any of your updating, like checking for collisions, updating the fruit, checking if you're out of bounds, and then finally do some out of bounds or game over or level pause conditions. And if all of that's not done, we can then spawn and or move the person around. That's pretty much it. Hopefully the video, the code, give you a little bit of time and experience to play around with using the olcPixelGameEngine, or just get out there and enjoy playing around with C++.